I'm Jacqueline Taylor. Good evening to everybody. Thanks to Doug for allowing me to do this pitch. I'm an IT entrepreneur. I've been running IT companies since my mid-20s. 10 years ago, I received a letter from a headmaster expressing surprise and concern about the results my son achieved in his common entrance exams, a subject I had no experience in, but I started to do my research.
I'm sorry, did he do uncommonly well or poorly?
Neither.
Keep going. I didn't know there was a third place to go.
Nor did I. That's exactly it.
You've got me confused.
10 years on, I won a landmark legal court judgment this year against the examination authorities in this country to bring an integrated ICT platform into the exam hall, and this summer my son sat his GCSE exams on that platform that I had developed. During that 10-year journey, however, I understood one key thing. Maths is a problem in this country. In the UK, 20% of all of our children are classified by the government as failing in maths.
Okay.
I have invented a tool to reverse that trend. So what I had to do was understand why that was, and what I did was to develop a tool to make that understanding. I'm being deliberately vague because I've been working with the British Library and their inventor in residence to do the product design on that. I've done almost all the IP and securing all of that. I have a working prototype which is in final stages of design, and I found a manufacturer to bring it to market.
Okay, but you seem to leave out things I care to know about. Are you being vague because you don't have the IP secured yet? Is that what you're trying to say?
I haven't finalised it. We're on ghost.
This is what, a patent question? You're allowed to tell me.
No, I will. I'll get to it. It's my next 2 sentences.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
My next 2 sentences that I need to remember. So where I am now is, in September 2010, the national maths curriculum is abandoned. Want to get this. My aim is to get my product to market to support the 10 to 16-year-old age range that teaches them maths the way they learn. And I'm here today to ask for some help or some guidance about how to access grant funding in order to do that.
Okay, then if you're going to, we need to put you in a position where you are more compelling about what it is you do. So, here's what I'd like to be able, for you to be able to say. Mm-hmm. You tell me whether you can or not. You've invented a product, or let's call it a product for lack of a better, product that helps kids learn math better than they do today. Yes or no?
Helps kids learn maths the way they learn.
Okay. Is there anything stopping you from trying to explain what it is you do that they don't do today? Or can you give me an example or anything, or would you feel...
30 years ago, when children were sat in schools, people like me were sat in schools, 90% of that audience was auditory learners. People spoke at you, you learnt from them primarily talking at you, primarily doing research on your own. Today, only 10% of our children are auditory learners. The rest of them are visual and kinesthetic learners. And this tool teaches maths in a visual or kinesthetic way. Visual, I have to see something, you can't talk to me, I can't open my auditory channels while you're talking. Kinesthetic, I have to touch it in order to learn.
And there are no other visual or kinesthetic tools for teaching maths in the market anywhere in the English-speaking world today that you're aware of?
Not that uses this new learning that I had to learn.
This new learning, what does that mean? That's vague.
The ICT platform that I had to put onto a laptop in June for my son to sit, the research that went into that has been put into this tool that I've developed.
And what is it you've learned from this research? You see, once again, there's this thing. It's almost like there's a magic sauce. Now, if you want to say, Doug, I'm not going to tell you what the magic sauce is, then just say it.
I'm trying to avoid giving any secrets.
So just say, Doug, I got a secret. I ain't going to tell you. That way, at least I know it's a secret. I won't keep poking at it.
Okay.
Because
the secret is the process and the research and learning I've done, and that's what we will pay for.
So are you in a position to prove the kids learn better this way?
Yes.
You can prove it?
Yes.
So you've run some sort of trials with children learning math that can demonstrably show that they learn the math better? What have you done? Because you realize you're going to be up against a huge credibility challenge.
Yes.
Not because I do or don't believe you, but let's face it, you're talking the educational establishment, the teaching establishment. You're talking about math, which a lot of people think, rightly or wrongly, people just can't learn. I happen to disagree with that as well. I happen to disagree as well. Having said that, I also know that there are commercial companies out there that make a considerable profit tutoring children on the side, like Kumon and other such things, which are essentially math companies. They may be good or bad, but there's people with vested interest in making money here already. So you've got a non-trivial hill to climb. The easiest way to climb that hill is to be able to simply prove it. So how do you prove that? However the magic's done.
The way I prove it is I have my 13-year-old who was studying A-level maths as a result of what I've developed and my understanding. He's an advanced Kumon student, was at 13. He now works for an organisation called First Class Learning, which is backed by Durham University. I had a small army of people to help me overturn the qualifications authority in this country in order to access the research. And
These aren't proofs, though. These aren't proofs. Proof, let me tell you how proof works. Proof is you can say, I was able to persuade a local school to let me show these, augment their teaching with some of my stuff, and these kids outperformed here. In other words, you have to, proof is proof. Proof is not anecdotal evidence of your own. That's a proxy for proof. It's a step in the direction, but it's not proof. Proof is proof. And so do you have anything that resembles proof yet? Because this is not a non-trivial challenge.
No, I understand that. I spent 10 years on part of
Fair enough.
I have the manufacturing facility that I've got set up ready to roll with this, and the help that I've got already secured in order to bring this to market looks at putting 100,000 units in the UK. I'm actually starting with some of the channels I've already built as part of my overturning the education process. So Senko's educational psychologists, First Class Learning.
These are organizations, presumably?
They're organisations, but the key army I have are parents, because actually the educational establishment has put every roadblock in the way to stop me doing it. So I actually want to access.
They're not your army until they're your army.
Well,
in the sense that you don't have all the parents in the UK on your side yet, and they remain to be persuaded as well. And it's a massive education challenge. In this metaphorical sense, you need to teach these parents, a massive publicity challenge, a massive marketing challenge. So you're not going to get all the parents in the UK to create that demand.
No, I'm going to
not
target
trivially.
20% of parents where their children are already assessed as failing at maths.
And how are you going to reach them?
Well, I've got a number of distribution and channels to go through.
Okay, fair enough.
Primarily, the tool itself is postable. It will fit in a jiffy bag.
So you're going to try to sell directly to the parents initially of the kids who are at risk?
I am.
So this is essentially a web-driven business for a math tool that helps the parents at risk. So therefore, they need to know about it. So you have a communication challenge.
Yeah.
When does this whole thing launch?
I'm looking to put it out in the London boroughs in September 2010, as and when the national maths curriculum is abandoned. Because as of September,
is it a fact that they're changing the math curriculum in 2010? Yeah. I don't know.
It is.
I'm safely ignorant on this subject.
The figures that I'm already quoting are with the national maths curriculum and government direction for all of this. As of September, the schools will open with none of that direction in place, and it will be down to individual schools. Part of the legal challenge that I've done is using the London boroughs as a vehicle, because they band together on these sort of challenges, and I'm actually going to tackle the contacts.
May I make another suggestion? I don't think going on about the legal struggles you've been through actually is necessarily a productive business pitch, oddly enough.
Okay.
For the simple reason it puts you at odds with the world. I can appreciate you may have learned a lot through whatever it was that you went through in that period. I actually don't think it's going to work to your benefit going forward, though.
Okay.
As a business presentation, that actually sounds like you're more of a Don Quixote-like figure. Meaning you're tilting at windmills. You're saying, I'm going to save the world, there's bad guys and there's good guys. I don't actually think there's bad guys and there's good guys. I think there's people who perhaps don't know better or are stick in the muds or have done it the same way their whole lives. But it doesn't make them bad guys, it just means they're not right. And therefore, I don't know that it's a you against them. It's actually a you on behalf of a group of people that need help. And I think that you'll find that the world works more towards your benefit if you it's a matter of how you're characterizing something in large part.
Yep.
As for the rest of it, proof, and proof might help. You may have to start anecdotally. You may have to take individual children and you work with them and then get the evidence of their benefit so that you grow very, very step by step. Because tackling the boroughs of London sounds like a heck of a challenge, doesn't it? I know you've won before, but I'm not sure fighting your way in is necessarily going to be the best way. But
No, because I want to access it by the parents and do it. That's because I know there are so many dissatisfied parents already. I talk to them all the time. And what I'm particularly looking for is grant funding to underpin the manufacture and the distribution of this, because it's obviously looking at tackling an education problem that exists.
the only thing I can recommend is look, if in fact you can persuade a grant provider, you're going to have to prove to them that it's efficacious, that it works, and you're going to have to look for educational trust, private educational trust. Those charities that have been set up that are private, because it is highly unlikely that government backing would go into a private individual's innovation, no matter how well proved, because that's generally not how the curriculum, as you know, are developed. So I think your challenge is going to be is you're going to have to find somebody who's as iconoclastic as you are, as unique as you are. Thank you. I spent a long time being able to say it. There's people saying things in the back, and I think, as usual, they're basically saying you're not telling me everything, and they want you to get to the point, but we both know you're not going to because it's magic sauce, and I think that's fine for the moment.
So can I just be clear? You're
Sure.
saying private individuals?
No. Grants come from charities. At the end of the day, 99% of grant funding either comes from governments or private charities.
Right.
And charities are set up for a reason. Some to improve water, some to improve health, some to improve education. You're looking for a charity that was set up with the explicit intent of improving education. And you're looking for one that makes grants. And one has to become good at grant writing like everything else in this world. It becomes an art. And I guarantee you, when you write that grant application, they're going to want to know, how do we know it does what it does? And so you're going to have to figure a way out to jump a gap.
Yep, okay.
And jump that gap. You get someone else to believe in what you believe. Here's the good news. They wouldn't be running that charity and distributing money unless they weren't approached all the time with people who are different, people who are not agreeing with the system, are dissatisfied with the system, have been turned down by the system, because their goal and their role is to challenge the system and to give money to people to provoke the system. Now, you might be right or you might be wrong. I have no idea, of course. Mm-hmm. But they're the kind of people you need as allies.
And how do I get access to
You're just a Google away, and even more to the point, there's very clear lists of grant funding organizations out there and charities that focus on education, and each one of them will have an application process, and it's torturous. It's all paper, it's all torturous, and it's a slog.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
Yeah, and for my part, I mean, obviously I can look to fund some of it myself, but I'm looking to get some support that's not the education system, but somebody that's connected with it to get that credibility on board with what I'm doing.
Then they're going to have to believe too.
Yeah.
Once again, we come back, you got to be able to make people believe. You know what, you're either right or you're wrong. But, do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of phonics. Do you know that it was a hugely discredited way of teaching kids how to read. And for almost 20 years, especially in the US, it was swept out because it was considered mechanistic, unimaginative, not the right way. And so holistic and gestalt-like ways of teaching reading came in. And of course, an entire generation of kids learned to read slower and more poorly. Phonics has worked its way back into the system, become legitimate, despite the opposition of huge tranches of professional educators historically. I mean, this is now old news. Mm-hmm. And it won because it worked. Because over and over and over again it was proved it taught kids to read as a simple way, more quickly, more effectively. Mm-hmm. If you can teach them math, you can have the same impact in math that they've had in reading, then in the long run you'll prevail.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.